COP26 starts in Scotland next week, and there will be a number of Canadian delegates going. And one of the more interesting is the daughter of a friend of mine, and Dr. Joe Vipond. We've interviewed many times about various climate and COVID-19 issues. So we're going to talk to 15-year-old Sadie, who's going over to Scotland to the event to partake in some of the activities there. So welcome to the interview, Sadie, and of course, Joe.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us.
Well, very pleased to do this. And we probably should have had you on the show before. But now you're going to Scotland. I know you're a climate activist. Why are you going to COP26?
So it's predominantly for a documentary that I'm going to be part of. It is focusing on me and 3 other girls across Canada. And one other girl is going with me to COP26. And going to COP26 is basically the finale of the documentary. And the documentary is focusing on youth empowerment and what the 4 of us are doing to combat the climate crisis.
Well, that sounds very interesting. What will you be doing? Walk us through some of the events that you're and activities that you'll be taking part in while you're at COP26.
I am not sure of all the details, but I know I'm doing a live event and participating in many events from the Green Zone, which is organizing a bunch of events from the for COP26. And I'm doing 3 days of those events, and I'm doing ones that focus predominantly on youth activism and
2 protests.
Yeah, and 2 protests as well.
So the events, will they be things like debates, panel discussions, those sorts of things?
Yeah, there's one that I'm super excited for. It's like an interactive game about sustainable futures, and I think that will be super interesting.
Now, let's talk a little bit about how you got interested in climate activism. Could you tell us how that started, please?
Yeah, of course. So I was definitely really influenced by my dad because he was doing lots of climate activism for as long as I can remember. And since we are a very active family, we have a cabin in British Columbia. I spent a lot of my time in the mountains and outdoors, and I've grown a really big connection with these places, and I really want to protect them as much as I can.
What sort of climate activism have you been involved with up to now?
Yeah, I have spoken to Calgary City Council, and currently I am part of a lawsuit, which is me and 15 other youth all across Canada that are suing the federal government to protect us from climate change, and we're asking for a science-based climate recovery plan.
That's very interesting. One question I have for you, Sadie, and I hear all the time, about how it's your generation that's going to be, suffering the worst effects of climate change down the road. Is that something that maybe you and your friends, or you and your, the folks, the other kids that you're connected with across the country, is that something you talk about and you're concerned about?
Yeah, it's definitely gotten more of a conversation in the past couple years, especially with Greta Thunberg's influence in the world. And yeah, it's really hopeful and exciting to see the conversation is really picking up.
Well, speaking of Greta Thunberg, is she a sort of a hero of yours?
Yeah, she's super inspiring. And I've actually met her, and it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, I'll bet she sounds like a very capable and interesting young woman. Now, you're going to be traveling in the midst of a pandemic. The UK is having some bad numbers. So I'm going to ask this one of your dad.
Yeah.
Joe, what kind of precautions are you taking to protect you and Sadie from the virus when you travel, and any travel tips you can share with our viewers?
Well, probably the biggest thing is masking. So we're going to be traveling with N99 and N95 masks. So we'll have really good mask protections. We're going to be bringing rapid tests with us. So if we're going to be interacting with anybody indoors that's outside of our cohort, we're going to be asking them to rapid test with us. And we're going to, do all those usual precautions, physical distancing, maximizing outdoor interactions over indoor interactions. And, when we're in an indoor space, like traveling on a train, we're going to be opening up lots of windows, that kind of thing.
Well, let's talk about masks, because I've interviewed you about masks several times. And that conversation has evolved quite a bit over the last 18 months. Are you taking like N95 masks or some of the respirators that we've seen on the market?
Yeah, we no longer use cloth masks or surgical masks. We go straight to the N95 or N99. So,
oh, interesting. Well, look, thank you very much, both of you, for doing this. And Sadie, all the best. Good luck at COP26. And with any luck, we'll get a chance to interview you while you're there and catch up on some of the activities that you take part in.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.